Welcome to SteamLUG Cast, Season 3, Episode 2. We are recording this on the 23rd of January 2018. My name is DerRidda, and with me I have Bean.
Hello.
And Nemoder.
Hi there.
So, what have you guys been playing? Why don't we start with Bean?
I've been playing Borderlands pre-sequel. Played some Natural Selection too. Thank you, Corbin. Played along with a couple of other members of SteamLUG. Threw in some time for Cosmic Aurea, and Assault Android Cactus now has a daily drive mode. I'm playing that, but I haven't actually been playing it as often as I should. And then, of course, again, some Left 4 Dead 2 during the event.
How is Cosmic Aurea?
Cute. I don't know. It gets really hard. There's as you put enough plants on certain planets, it'll grow an atmosphere. And then you go out and explore and get other planets. And once you get to a certain number of planets, bosses start coming.
Yeah.
And
it's cool that it kind of scales up.
Yeah. And so I've only gotten so far as like the second boss. And it's one of those again where it's like a roguelike where the more progress you make, the more time you're going to spend the next run through.
Yeah, makes sense.
So you usually don't do more than a couple runs at a time. So what have you been playing, Nemoder?
Oh, well, Guns of Icarus, of course. We do our events for that. We did play that Natural Selection too, which was kind of fun just to mess around and learn some of the game. I played Rexhora, which I finally got around to. I didn't get all the way through it, but it's definitely a challenging Portal mod. And, of course, got sucked into Dwarf Fortress again, which eats up so much time, but very addicting. Played a bit of Crypt of the Necrodancer to do the daily challenges, and I got to try Civilization Beyond Earth. We had that free weekend, and I also got a copy from a member of SteamLUG, which was awesome. And played a little bit of Space Farmers, which is a very, very strange game. It's 2-player only. You can't play with more or less, so it's just something that you have to try, I guess, if you got a friend to play with. And I tried a bit of Scapegoat too, which was kind of fun to finally go through. So what have you been playing, DerRidda?
Oh, lots of CSGO, opened up crates, been wholly disappointed by the contents. I got like 2 times guns I already had, like 2 times each, 2 times, so 4 times of weapons I already had. Terrible. Stupid gambling. And I've played quite a bit of Star Wars Dark Forces, which is quite interesting to see a first-person shooter that is this old, like in between the time of Doom and when they figured out the whole 3D stuff, and that you maybe should be able to look up and down with your mouse, which you can't yet do in Dark Forces.
Like Duke Nukem.
Yeah, but it's fun. And since I upgraded my hardware, I made a whole new playthrough of The Witcher 2, and that turned out a whole lot better when you actually have the hardware to brute force through this crappy wrap job.
Yeah, I don't think my hardware is quite up to that yet, but hopefully someday. It's nice to see they're still working on it, I guess, that conversation about that bug that was in the kernel.
Yeah, the fun part here was, like, there is a flat text on your CPU. At first, on my old hardware, I seem to have been GPU bound as well, so it actually mattered when I turned down some of the settings and I could get better performance. But here I had a flat text on my CPU I could not get past. Anyway, I played like all maxed out except that stupid Uber sampling, and got in one section 30 to 40 FPS, and I thought, okay, let's see if I can reach 60 by turning some stuff down, which never happened, and eventually I was on 800 by 600, all those settings, and it didn't give me one single FPS more. This is how this game is ported, like a flat text on your CPU no matter what, which is strange, because I think even CPU usage should scale with your graphics settings.
Yeah, if it's all going through CPU, I guess it doesn't matter, but who knows. Hopefully they improve it.
So, going on to community stuff, past events, we had Left 4 Dead 2 directly after the last cast, I think it was. And who managed to attend it? I know I was there.
Actually, I think maybe I was there for a little bit. I had forgotten, but yeah, we did some of that team versus team stuff. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, we were joined by a few members of the community. Corbin jumped in there. Linux was with us.
Yeah, we played a round of Realism versus, which was super fun carnage, and like in the first round, both teams died in no time flat.
Yeah, I did seem to think it was a little bit harder than it normally had been before, but
a lot harder. I mean,
it was fun.
if you don't have the outlines around the characters, it's not that easy anymore to just shoot the special infected of your teammate through a crowd of zombies while you are being eaten yourself.
Yeah.
Then there was Trine the Saturday after that. Who managed to attend that?
I missed it, sorry.
Well, I hope whoever was there had some fun. And Empire Total War, which I hope some of you guys attended. Because that's like the only chance you ever get to play that game in multiplayer, because that port is not cross-platform multiplayer.
Oh man, no, I never picked that game up, unfortunately, but it looked like it was a pretty cool game. Did you get to try it, Bean?
No, unfortunately, I was having hardware problems. And I don't have the game. It's that one's not in my it's not in my domain of games.
Yeah, it kind of came out at a weird time, I guess, and it was hard to get into it.
Yeah, this is one of the strange misconceptions. If people remember the interview we had with the upper from Feral, who said they think that strategy games are what Linux users want, and then there is the all three of us don't have that game because we are not that interested. I mean, how did they get the idea? I mean, sure, strategy games are also popular, but singling that out as the kind of genre Linux users want above all else is a bit of a misconception.
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, we're pretty active in a lot of multiplayer type stuff, and I imagine there's probably a bigger market for single-player gamers. Hard to say.
And last Saturday, after Empire Total War, we had Natural Selection 2. Finally, after they have fixed their long-standing crash on shooting bug, we had an event, and it went quite well. What did you guys think?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't make it to the event. I didn't have the game at the time, but I got it a couple days after that. And I'm looking forward to the next SteamLUG event for Natural Selection 2.
Yeah, I missed the event too, but we did play little ways after. I don't know if it was the next day or whatever, but pretty fun just to play with some friends finally. I had the game for a while and kept trying to play random servers, and it's one of those games where the veterans will absolutely dominate, and it's hard to get into if you don't have a group of friends to just kind of mess around and learn it.
Yeah, during the event, some community members showed up that I have personally never seen in any other event before, and it seems like one or two of them were actually hardcore into NS2, and the one round I played, where I was Marines, we just completely smashed the aliens. Because we had like the commander and me and some other, like not even that many people, but some really more experienced people in that game, and that makes a whole lot of a difference.
Yeah.
That is a hardcore game, even if you just be on servers. But it's fun, it's a lot of fun. It pays off. Get into it.
It's not exactly Dota 2 level hard, but it definitely takes quite a bit of time to get good at it.
Yeah, and it's more bearable to lose in this game than in a game of Dota, because it's just join a server, start playing whenever you want. It's not like this whole voodoo process of getting a game going like it is in Dota.
Yeah. So we got some upcoming events. Little Racer Street after the cast. Hopefully we can get a lot of people into that. We did this once before, and it was pretty fun, but I think there were some issues, and hopefully they've been fixed, but we'll give it a shot. And after that, I guess tomorrow, Serious Sam 3.
Serious Sam 3, one of our mainstays, I think, and always quite popular.
Yeah, it's always a good one to jump into every now and then.
I mean, who doesn't like to shoot headless suicide bombers?
Screaming at you as they explode.
And in the game.
Yes, that too.
Go on, Nemoder.
And we got Starbound coming up later. We're really hoping that they get a new stable release out, because they keep saying it will be really soon now, but who knows. So we'll see what happens with that, but hopefully we have time to organize it and get everything set up for it. And then I guess we have Dota 2 at the end of the month.
As far as Starbound is concerned, it sounds like we are doing this really... It was smart of us to schedule it to the last weekend of the month, because it seems like it's coming around next week or the week after that, so we should be seeing the stable patch, but even if it isn't in the stable branch, it's just one beta branch away. Everybody can join in and play that version, so it's not a deal breaker if they don't make it.
Yeah. And there are quite a few unstable servers already set up. I think we had some community members step forward to run some of those, and if you just really want to check out some of the new stuff, you can certainly do that now.
And as far as other community activities are concerned, we still have our poll going on SteamLUG.org, And you should totally vote for it if you haven't done so already, and share it with everybody you know who's in the group on it. So Feral doesn't get the idea that all we want is strategy games, because look at our poll. It isn't. We want all the games. All of them. All of them.
We want shooter racers.
More games.
We want a first-person shooter racing game.
That is also an RPG.
And a simulation.
So, in Steam and Valve news, Valve has recently removed OAuth for authentication. I think that was in the wake of some serious security flaw in that system. Or who knows more?
I don't think it's ever been officially announced the reasoning for it, but I'm sure it's got to do either with security or possibly just the headaches of people who tied their games to the wrong account and had to get it changed. It's hard to say.
Yeah, in essence, that means Humble Bundle, for example, can't give you your Steam keys directly attached to your account anymore. They are back to the old system where they generate a key for you and you have to paste that into your key redemption box in the Steam client.
Honestly, I prefer it. I mean, you get to the point where you're trying to buy gifts and things through stores, and it becomes such a hassle when it's tied to your account all the time. So, they might lose some sales from people, losing their keys or whatever. But I think it's a much more flexible system.
Oh, I guess the traders love it. Now there are all these low baller keys back in the day from people like trading $1 Humble Bundle purchases Steam keys to get much more expensive stuff, and trading forums were spammed with that stuff.
Yeah.
But I guess it still works, so not a big problem, just less convenient.
Yeah.
Or for some even more convenient.
It's a kind of a trade-off, but we'll see how it goes.
Though it's also surprising because they went to this format especially to cut down on scamming, I think. And now it's back, so with the recent efforts of Valve trying to avoid scamming by introducing the capture for trade requests, so bots don't have as easy a time to offer some malicious trade requests, where they only write that they will donate money to your or transmit money to your account, which never happens because there's no functionality for that.
Yeah.
There's also been a SteamOS update. I only briefly glanced over it. It sounds like mostly just upstream stuff brought into SteamOS. Or was there anything special I have missed?
I didn't see anything special, but it is nice that they're working on that. And, they're preparing, I guess, for their GDC thing coming up later and hoping to get at least the major bugs out of it before their big show, whatever it's going to be.
And I think also trying to again remind people that they don't actually see these Steam machines as being dead yet.
No, not really.
And so I think that continuing work on the operating system is trying to show that they're still interested in making this a console OS anyway.
Yeah.
Also interesting, they did not update Catalyst to 14.12 yet. They updated it to 14.9, which is not surprising, seeing how 14.12 turned out to be utter dreck.
Yeah, it's good that they're staying on top of that and making sure what they have works.
So, and there was a mean Steam bug fix that could, under some circumstances, potentially delete your entire home folder, and if you were stupid enough to run Steam as an administrator, it had the potential to delete all of your file system. All of it.
Yeah, people have been freaking out about this quite a bit, but to actually trigger that bug, you have to go through quite a bit of very strange steps, so it's not quite as bad as everybody's been crying about, but it's still a bug and they're still fixing it, so it's good that,
Yeah, but though
it's being dealt with.
All that being said, they really had a stupid line there where they just rm-rf'd Steam root, and Steam root was not checked to actually be a thing, and if that was not an actual directory, this would automatically go down to just root of your entire file system.
Yeah.
And there was no check for that at all.
Well, it was a check underneath something else, so to get that far, you at least had to have done some strange things to your system.
And there is a comment in the issue history, if you pay attention to it, that line has actually been there for well over a year now.
Yeah.
I actually know what caused this bug to be discussed. The guy who I think made the initial posting was in SteamLUG IRC when he nuked his entire home folder by moving Steam around. So I know when that happened. This just didn't happen often enough for people to notice. Somebody actually noticed it because he banged into that issue and it killed all his files. Luckily, he seems to have had a backup.
Yeah.
So yeah, back up your shit and don't mount it. Never have your backup drives live, because you just see what happens, wrong writes, and you could even have deleted your backups if they were mounted. But there's at least a basic check now that will see if steamroot is an empty string. So if that is an empty string, it will not do that thing. Which isn't a perfect fix, but should be, for 99% of the occasions where this rare bug is triggered, should help.
Yeah.
And at least in this case, it should fix the one reported use case.
Indeed.
Yeah, these things are going to pop up, I guess, and it's just a matter of, making sure things are done right. And it's unfortunate that it did wipe somebody's files out, and at least in a couple of cases. But again, it's a pretty hard bug to trigger. I mean, it's not just moving your folder. You have to move it to a different file system, I think, that had different permissions. Anyway, it's not something that was common, but yeah, at least they dealt with it. So moving on to tech news. GOG.com has removed password protection on RAR files. They had implemented that, I guess, as a DRM restriction, and it really ticked off a lot of people that wanted to see GOG not go down that route, but they've backed out of it and gone back to their previous installers. And the reason that it affects us primarily is because a lot of the extraction tools for DOSBox and Wine relied on not having that password protection in there.
To be fair, that really only affected us because it wasn't really that much DRM as more like of a straight piracy or even injection protection, so nobody messes with these files without the installer. But, I mean, they just didn't think about us in that case because the password is coming with the installer, but if you use your extraction tool, you don't want to use the installer.
Right.
So it was just more of an oversight, and they have since reverted it, so no big deal here. Nvidia has just released their mid-range GTX 960 graphics card, which in and by itself is not really that much of a news item. But I put it in there because I wanted to point out that this card is actually not even that good a deal. And if you're a Linux user, that's still the mid-range card you want to buy because of the driver quality with AMD. For just a couple of bucks more, you could get a corresponding AMD card that just kicks the pants off this graphics card. But because AMD doesn't know how to do OpenGL drivers on any platform, it means you wouldn't get that performance benefit. In fact, you would see lower performance than this card. And that bugs me. It bugs me that we are actually not participating in the competition that is going on in the graphics card market.
Yeah. So do you think that's one of the better NVIDIA cards, or do you think there's a better one?
It's like, I mean, if you already have like a 760, there's no need for that card. It's actually not even that good a card. It only has 2 gigabytes of video memory, and it's on a 128-bit lane instead of a 256-bit lane. So it's good, but not spectacular, and a bit on the expensive side compared to some AMD offerings, which the only drawback on those cards is they suck a whole lot more power, but they are faster overall. But not on our platform.
So not a bad card if you can find a special deal on it, but probably not worth the price right now.
Yeah, put in the extra $100 and get a 970. That is an excellent card at the moment.
All right.
And there, on other NVIDIA news, there is a new stable NVIDIA driver. It's 346.35, which you should probably install because that fixes quite a few corruption issues and most notably issues in the Metro Redux games. When you play them at high settings on older drivers, you couldn't go for the setting because there was intense video corruption, like you could see through geometry or it wasn't even rendered at all. So yeah.
Yeah, well, it wasn't just Metro. I was running the 340 drivers and trying to run those new Unreal Tournament 4 demos. Or I guess it's actual Unreal Tournament now, and it just would not work. It was like it started up and the graphics were just like lights everywhere. You couldn't see any textures. So updating 346 fixed all that, and it's pretty nice to see all that coming through so quickly.
Yes, I mean, I had some issues fixed that didn't even seem to be mentioned in the update log of that driver because it contains a lot of what the recent beta drivers had. And I don't even think there's a specific mention to the fix for Metro Redux, but it's in there and it works, so get that driver.
Alright, where are we? General gaming news. So, Civilization Beyond Earth has now been synced up with Windows again, so you can play cross-platform, which is always good. They did announce, to be fair, ahead of time that there was going to be a few days that it would be out of sync, so it was at least nice to have the heads up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that is something that we'll have to deal with on third-party porting companies. It's just, it's always going to take some time to catch up and get things ported. It's unfortunate that 2K didn't want to wait to wait for all platforms to be in sync before releasing, but that's kind of the world we're in now.
Well, that actually seems to be a pattern for 2K. I mean, the same thing happened with Borderlands 2. It happened with Borderlands, a pre-sequel.
And I've seen it happen with other companies too. It's just, they know who their target audience is, I guess, and the rest of us are just reliant on third-party porters to play catch-up, I guess. But in the end, it didn't take them that long to do it, so it's not a huge deal.
Yeah, that's just a thing we have to accept with all these port publisher games. It will just happen, and if you want to not see that happen, you maybe should buy these games later down the line when they are pretty much done as far as patches are concerned and DLC.
Yeah.
AudioSurf 2 is now in early access, and it supports Linux, so now on Linux you are able to surf along the audio lane to your favorite music. And I guess there isn't all that much more to it compared to AudioSurf 1, or is there? Does this?
I'm not sure. Have either of you played AudioSurf?
The original, yes.
I have not played it, but I've seen quite a bit of it. It looks interesting, I guess. There were some other games that had a similar kind of theme of, playing along to the music, and I was never really able to get maybe the right tracks or something, and it just always felt like it was chaotic and didn't really match the music, but maybe that's just the music I listen to, I don't know.
Oh, personally, I have no idea why this sequel to a concept that already exists and is pretty fleshed out needs to be in early access.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of games that, you wonder why they're, pre-releasing when they already kind of know what they're doing with it. Free beta testing, I guess.
So, Oddworld New N Tasty gets a release date for Linux. According to the report on Gamma Sutra, it's actually going to be February 25th. This is what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, me too. I remember playing a pirated version of Oddworld back in the late 90s, I guess, when it was new. But I was too young and didn't get into the weirdness of it, but now I can appreciate it more, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, this is one of my...
Yeah, I missed that whole game. I remember seeing everything about it, and I just missed it. Got other stuff going on, but definitely looking forward to seeing what they can do with it.
Yeah, this is one of those that I spent many an hour playing through the entire Oddworld series. And this was, this is one I'm looking forward to because it doesn't run all that well for me under emulators.
Not even like a PS1 emulator, because that should be easy enough.
It's also been a while since I tried. But I'm looking forward to the fact that they actually took the time and effort to actually not just, get it to run, but to make it look like it could have, been built like, today.
Yeah. So Aspire's been talking a little bit in comments on one of their Reddit posts saying that they're close to breaking even, which, considering their long-term investment idea for porting games, that they're already this far along is pretty encouraging.
Yeah, they seem to have been surprised by that as well. Like we suggested in the past, these port publishers are mainly in it for Steam machines to see how that turns out. Because that could easily mean for them that they are making more money than on their main horse, which is the Mac porting business.
Yeah, so I imagine that they're pretty encouraged by the fact that they're already this close, and then once Steam machines come out, that's going to be a lot extra gravy on top.
Yeah, I mean, that would be nice. And it's also encouraging to see that even though Steam machines have not yet happened, we have exceeded their expectations and are selling better than they guessed we would sell, or buy, rather. I guess that is encouraging news.
Yeah, hopefully it convinces some other people or developers that are kind of on the line of whether they want to, risk the investment and proving that, hey, yes, there is a market here and we're buying games. So that'll be great.
GOG has added Linux versions of Star Wars Dark Forces, Among the Sleep, and Trine 2 Complete Story to their store. The latter two we already could get someplace else, but the real interesting thing here, in my personal opinion, is Star Wars Dark Forces, which, well, is a first to Linux, except for when you yourself put it in DOSBox. But now they do it and they support it, which is nice.
So yeah, it is DOSBox, all right?
Yes, it is DOSBox. I bought it, as I said before, I played it some, and it works well. In the past I had problems with some of the DOSBox games from GOG really messing up with my dual monitor setup, like trying to spawn in the middle or God knows what. And this somehow behaves better, and yeah, it runs well. It still turns over the second monitor, but that I can live with. That's not a big deal. As long as it spawns correctly on one end, I don't have to aim with the bezel of my screens, which are like 5 centimeters apart anyway.
Yeah, I'm still not running dual monitor, but I do hear quite a bit about issues with full screen games, so it's always nice to see when those issues aren't too hard to deal with.
Very few, but it's becoming fewer and fewer. Like, only really old games have actual problems with it. The worst I see these days is an STL 1.2 game that just disables the second monitor, but it still spawns correctly on either one of them. Yeah, and as Norbert said in chat, just make the primary screen your leftmost screen and you should be good to go. Which is exactly the solution for some of the worst behaving games.
Cool.
And here is a big news item for this week, I think. Dying Light looks like it might be coming to Linux. They have added Linux to the OS list in SteamDB, and that's a pretty big deal, actually. A new AAA game might be coming to Linux. I think that's the effect of Steam machines being right around the corner.
Yeah, it could be. I haven't heard too much about the game. It is, I guess, a brand new. It's not continuing a sequel or anything. It's a new game coming out, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, there is like some early looks at the game from promo deals where people play the opening of the game, which is quite interesting. It looks like Mirror's Edge meets Dead Island and some Far Cry 2 for good measure, because like in Far Cry 2 you start off with malaria, in that game you actually get bitten and have to hold off the infection right in the beginning. So yeah, which I especially find the parkour elements interesting, because Mirror's Edge back in the day had the problem of, here we have parkour. Parkour is all your gameplay. This is what you're here for, and it made the game a bit dull in some places when you are trying glorified 3D Super Mario. But in this game, it's a vehicle to deliver other gameplay around zombies. And zombies, on the other hand, have been done to death, but this concept is different because, again, the movement around them, avoidance, and like nighttime is in the game, and at nighttime you basically can't fight the zombies at all, and you have to avoid them and sneak past them. This is more interesting than I have expected it to be.
Yeah, it's always cool to see other takes on it besides the same old, zombie survival game that's kind of taken over the market right now. But yeah, I played a little bit of 7 Days to Die, and it's actually surprisingly pretty good for what it is. But it is still kind of that same basic, borrowing from Minecraft and things like that, where it's just kind of build and survive.
Yeah.
So yeah, anything new with that kind of quality production and interesting mechanics is certainly something to look out for.
But before everybody flips out, it has not yet been confirmed, so I hope that this wasn't a fudge up, but this seems sensible because they already ported the engine with Dead Island, or an earlier version of the engine, which might have been the test bed. Deep Silver so far, this is Deep Silver if I'm right, they have been quite Linux friendly with some of their games, so it seems logical. It doesn't seem like an obvious mistake.
Yeah.
Also, to answer some question here in the chat, there is a multiplayer, also co-op, but it is not like Dead Island where the actual game is always co-op, and when you play single player you get a lesser version. This time it's more of a single player game, and there is mission-wise co-op. And there also seems to be some kind of versus multiplayer where somebody can play the zombie. So yeah, this could be one of the games everybody will be drooling over if this actually comes out. anytime soon to the Windows release.
Left 4 Dead 3.
Crowdfunding news have been big this time. Seems like it's been a while since we had this many items in our crowdfunding section, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's because wasn't popular notion the Kickstarter was dead, right?
Yeah, totally dead. No, but there's some interesting stuff coming, like the new Shadowrun game, which is set in Hong Kong and is named Shadowrun Hong Kong. It is on Kickstarter now, and it has already reached almost all of its stretch goals.
Very nice.
And they aren't even asking for all the money to make the game. They have made enough money to basically deliver a Shadowrun game of the same quality like Dragonfall Director's Cut on their own, but instead they say, we are making this game anyway, we need this much from you to make it better, and everything from the bidding has been pretty much what would otherwise be stretch goals for another game. Which is nice. You know, you are not betting on some wild-eyed concept, you know, you're betting on a developer who has delivered twice in a row good games.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference, yeah.
Yeah, and you're not even betting on the skeleton of it, but they are already making this game anyway. And it sells, like, they might even reach 1 million by the end of this. They are already near 700,000, which is their last stretch goal, and they have 25 some days to go.
Yeah, it's awesome to see them succeed like that. I haven't backed it. I still haven't played through all of Shadowrun, the first game, which I did back, and it was cool to see that come to fruition. But yeah, it's definitely got its market.
Yeah, and you definitely see, I mean, Windows, Mac, Linux, right from the get-go, no silliness about that. Once you bred these game developers who made their games on Kickstarter, once you push them in the direction of give us a Linux version, it seems to be becoming a standard for them. If they see they can deliver on that easily, they will.
Yeah.
Without much fuss. Like, for example, after the Wasteland 2 Kickstarter, before that game was even out, InXile made the Torment Tides of Numenera Kickstarter, and they just said, right from the beginning, Windows, Mac, Linux.
Yeah, I mean, it's true that there is a little bit of an initial culture shock, I guess, and, you know, porting to any new system, really, but, you know, once you've done it, and once you've at least know the steps, it's just not going to be that hard to go through it again for new titles. So we've also got this new game called Children of Morta, which is an interesting kind of a indie action roguelike game. I haven't spent too much time looking at it, but it definitely looks like it's got some interesting mechanics.
Yeah, I took a look at this before the cast, and this actually is kind of a game that's right up my alley. These are the ones I enjoy. Ones that look like I could sit on the couch with the controller in hand and, you know, spend some hours exploring.
Yeah. It's not real strict roguelike, you know, that you have to worry about every little thing you do. It's kind of more Zelda-ish, where you just run around and explore and level up and all that.
I find it important that this is a pixel art style that finally doesn't look overused and boring. I find it very appealing.
Yeah, the animations even look really good in the videos, so I was surprised. And we've also had an interesting style of Kickstarter for a game called Strafe 1996. And we don't really know for sure if there's going to be a Linux version. They say they want to, but if they can't make it good, they're not going to. So we'll see what comes of that. But if nothing else, check out the video, because it's extremely hilarious for anybody that remembers a lot of the 90s marketing that happened at the time.
I'm still laughing at it, and I think it's just like the game before it, though. It's one of those things where they've taken an old style, and you look at it, though, it doesn't look like every other game out there that's attempting to mimic that style.
Yeah, A+ for marketing. I don't know if the game's going to be that good, and they haven't really committed fully to a Linux version, so might want to hold off on supporting it, but if you think the video is funny enough on its own, then maybe that's worth it. And we've got another game called Star Mazer Kickstarter that it's a really interesting mix. It's really old school, but it's a mix of both an adventure game, very strict, you know, click, point, and, you know, direct all your actions like the classic games were, and it's also a shoot 'em up, so it's kind of a bullet hell thing in between sequences. So you don't get into that boring state of, oh, it's this long adventure game, nothing interesting is going to happen. It really mixes it up, so it could be an interesting game. And again, it's got, you know, that really nice animation on indie graphics. It's not just throwing a few pixels together and calling it good. Did you guys get a chance to look at the video on that?
No, this seems to have been added while I was out for dinner. And the next item, which I don't know why it was put into crowdfunding, is Invisible Ink by Clay Entertainment, who made Don't Starve and Mark of the Ninja and the Shank games, is now on Steam Early Access for Linux.
Well, early access is crowdfunding, isn't it? I mean, your game's not done yet, and you're just taking money, so why not?
Oh, is it even out for Linux yet?
I believe so.
I mean, it was supposed to come soon, but it has no penguin icon yet on the Steam store. Maybe note to the audio editor, maybe cut this one.
I saw something that they had at least committed, or if not released something, so I'm pretty sure it's coming.
Yeah, they had. I read on Gaming on Linux that they had plans for it and it might be coming soon, but it was always clear from the start that Linux would be an eventuality. So yeah, it's coming soonish, but don't buy it before it's there because that's bad behavior.
Yeah.
Encourages the wrong behavior.
Always check SteamDB.
Goatmage just said it comes in the next update, so yeah. But you should still wait till it's actually there, on your table, ready to be eaten and played.
And speaking of updates, it looks like Left 4 Dead 2 just updated. Probably just
Yeah, but that was nothing major. This was just like one bug fix and one exploit fix or something, so...
okay. Well, hey, cool, they're still doing that. It's been a while since they've updated it.
So, this was a quick one.
Yeah, we burned through that pretty quick. Again, if anybody has suggestions for events, some new game that we haven't tried or that you want to see tried again, let us know. Email is cast@steamlug.org, so we definitely will check out anything you have to offer.
And you always know we are hanging around in our IRC channel, Freenode, and also in this very mumble server here, often enough, so feel free to approach us. And tell us what you love, what you don't like, what you would like to see.
Scream at us.
Tell us your hopes and dreams. So, thanks all for joining us, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.